Gas is down by a penny for the second day in a row, according to AAA.
Yeah, but the average price per gallon is still more than $4. The war in Iran is pushing up oil prices around the world. AAA says the average price for a gallon of regular is now $4.11.
Yeah, as you can see, it is higher in the D.C. area at $4.27 a gallon. It's $4.09 though in Maryland and $3.95 in Virginia.
You know, one group that's really feeling the impact of these prices, that's rideshare drivers.
I bet. Let's bring in Lee Waltman now live in New York City for us to talk more about this and how some drivers are on the verge of calling it quits. Lee.
Lorenzo, Leslie, good to be with you both. For many of these drivers, the math just isn't adding up here. They're spending more on each of these rides because of what they're having to pay at the pump. And unfortunately, the Energy Secretary says we still have not reached the peak yet when it comes to these fuel prices.
There are drivers that are having their cars repossessed. There are drivers that are going to food banks. I'm one of them because I can't afford. Not making enough money.
These are uncertain times for rideshare drivers like Urla Phillips in Canada, who is watching fuel costs rise while the money coming in stays the same.
It has been really difficult.
Last month, before the national average for gas reached the $4 milestone, a rideshare driver in Atlanta was wondering how she would continue.
I'm working now, for rideshare, and I don't know what that's going to look like next week, because if gas is $4 a gallon, I'm done.
Rideshare companies like Uber and Lyft announce ways to help drivers save at the pump. Uber offered drivers $1 off per gallon through the cashback platform Upside, and an additional 5% on top of existing rates if they use the Uber Pro card to buy gas. Lyft offered its elite drivers up to 2% cashback through its own Lyft Direct debit card. All of this comes as Energy Secretary Chris Wright says oil prices will likely continue to climb.
We're going to see energy prices, high and maybe even rising until we get the ships, meaningful ship traffic through the Straits of Hormuz.
Patrick DeHaan with Gas Buddy agrees, saying the only alternative would be demand declining.
Which is obviously very unlikely here in the interim, especially as we get into warmer weather. Americans are driving more, not less.
Oil prices are largely an indicator for gas prices. Brent crude, the global oil benchmark, has risen around 40% since this war started. And on Monday, prices rose to nearly $100 a barrel. Leslie, Lorenzo.
Right. So it sounds like these rideshare drivers are going to get some help for the companies they work for. Do you still think those costs are going to trickle down to us?
Leslie, that's really uncertain right now. We asked Uber, Lyft, and DoorDash if that's going to start happening. They said at this point, the answer is no, but it's not an off-base question. If we just look back to 2022, we saw fuel prices skyrocketing after Russia invaded Ukraine. And at that point, Uber and Lyft implemented a 50 cent fuel surcharge per ride that was paid directly by their customers.
Yeah. So at this point, that's a no, but I guess we should check back with them
No,
tomorrow,
but
next
maybe
week?
Yes, possibly.
All right, Lee, thank you. And you can stay with WUSA 9 as we continue tracking every development in this Iran war and how it's impacting our community. Scan the QR code you see on your screen to download the free WUSA 9 app right now. You can also watch us on the free WUSA 9 Plus streaming app.